And somehow our old horse stables are still standing. You'll see them here on the right. No horses, of course. Much more modern facilities today elsewhere in town. We'll take this turn up ahead in front of this yellow brick building. You'll see stars on the brickwork because it's on the Registry of Historic Buildings in the United States. If you're counting, there's 27 stars on the brickwork because Florida is the 27th state in the Union. Now, this property was originally the home of the Soya Caracaba cigar factory, modeled after a prototype over in Ybor City in Tampa. The original contract, for some reason, called for 8 million Cuban-style cigars to be hand-rolled in there in a span of only 5 years. They fell well short of that goal, as you'd imagine, and by the Great Depression last century, the building was shuttered. They'd run out of cigars. They were also out of business. Now, we're also told they only hired women to work in the Soya Caracaba to hand-roll those Cuban-style cigars because men, they discovered, would stand around and talk too much. I know, I couldn't believe it either, so I did some additional research and I learned they did indeed hire men to work in that Soya Caracaba. But you know what they had them doing? Not rolling cigars, but standing and reading aloud from the daily newspapers and tabloids of the day to the ladies rolling the cigars to prevent the women from taking extended gossip breaks. Coming up next, the San Sebastian Winery, doing a great job here. Over 25 years now, 12 different varieties of wine. 8 of them come from the Muscadine grape grown over in Central Florida near Claremont. They offer free tours and free wine tasting. Fabulous gift shops in the lobby, and up on the rooftop, they call the cellar upstairs. They have it open today to the public. You'll likely find live entertainment to accompany your favorite beverage of the day. If you're looking for the Whetstones Chocolate Factory, this will be your closest trolley stop to Whetstones. It's around the corner on the right-hand side on King Street, just 2 buildings in on the right. So let's pull into the parking lot here, folks, for stop number 12. If you're leaving here, please wait for the bell. Then you can exit on either side. Please do so carefully. Remember to turn around and back down all the way. Stop number 12, the San Sebastian Winery, and here is your bell. I do see some guests leaving back there. Have a great afternoon, folks. Thank you for riding. All right, free tours and free wine tasting. Anyone? All right, then let's make this the last call for stop number 12. We'll get you back to the center of town with the next bell. Here we go. Please remain seated. As we exit the parking lot, off to the right-hand side, you'll have a glance over there to the San Sebastian River. Flows down and joins the Matanzas River. We'll see again later in the tour. Together forming on natural geographic boundaries to the west, south, and east of St. Augustine. Only pointing that out to give you an idea how small and protected the river has been. And across the street in front of us, you'll see the headquarters of the St. Augustine Police Department, right next to the winery. But on this property once stood the Florida East Coast Hospital, built by, you guessed it, Henry Morrison Flagler. But did you know if you're an employee of Mr. Flagler's in the hotel or the railroad business, you got your medical care there absolutely free. Better still, you can sign up your family members for medical care only 50 cents a month. Not a bad deal, even for 19th century Florida. We'll take this turn on King Street now. On the left-hand side, look for those 3 large buildings they call the triplets, built by the DuPont family, once housing the administrative offices of the Florida East Coast Railway. Only pointing them out so I can share with you another important chapter of Mr. Flagler's illustrious life involving the railroads. You see, when Mr. Flagler opened his grand hotels here in town back in the Gilded era, he realized he overlooked an important transportation problem for his guests, trying to get down here from large cities up north for the winter seasons. Boston, Philadelphia, New York, for example. No one wanted to ride a tramp steamer down the Atlantic coast in wintertime. They preferred to take a train. But in those days, the railroad system from up north terminated in Jacksonville, which meant his hotel guests were oftentimes left stranded on the banks of the St. Johns River, waiting for a ferry to cross, and then horses and carriages most likely the rest of the way to town. Mr. Flagler would fix that problem when he bought up the land and the railroad rights from here all the way up to Jacksonville, connected the train piece by piece, put in a common gauge, built a large railroad bridge over the St. Johns River and a depot here in town, allowing his guests to arrive here from up north by train in safety and comfort. The first train that left New York's Grand Central Station bound for St. Augustine was known as the Orange Blossom Special. And Mr. Flagler so enjoyed that experience, he stayed with it. He would pioneer what became known as the Florida East Coast Railway, buying the land and the railroad rights all the way down the Florida coast to present-day Miami and all the way out to Key West. And when it was completed in 1912, the Florida East Coast Railway was considered to be an engineering marvel of the Western world, still considered to this day as the most ambitious and most expensive construction project ever undertaken by a private citizen in the United States. And despite the enormous amount of his personal wealth Mr. Flagler poured into that 20-year project, he never earned $1 in profit. Critics would call it the railway that went to the sea. Mr. Flagler did get to ride his train from here once, all the way to Key West, the year before he died in 1913. He had a single vision of establishing a transshipment line up and down the Florida coast, getting ready for the soon-to-be-open Panama Canal. But it never materialized. If you've ever taken that scenic ride down on US 1 through the Florida Keys, you've likely seen the remains of the trestle work that still stands there today between some of the keys, the rest of it destroyed in tropical storm activity back in the 1930s. Coming into view on the left-hand side, you'll see a second antebellum plantation house. This one is the Markland House, built in the Romanesque style by two generations of the Andrew Anderson family. Dr. Anderson, the son, was the one who invited Mr. Flagler to St. Augustine for his first visit. The two men were seen occasionally sitting on the front porch of the Markland House, peeling and eating oranges grown out here in the Anderson orange groves, while making their plans to convert St. Augustine into the tourist destination it will become for the wealthy visitors from up north, coming down here to enjoy their winter seasons at one of these grand hotels we'll see as we head into the plaza. And here they are again. The first one on the left-hand side, the Ponce de Leon, today's Flagler College. Around the corner on the right, the Alcazar Hotel with that world-famous swimming pool. But the third grand hotel from the Gilded Era we didn't discuss yet is coming back into view in front of us, the beautiful Casa Monica. Casa Monica, not built by Henry Flagler, but by a friend over here on the right-hand side at the Via Zareta, Franklin Smith. Franklin Smith wanted to get into that booming hotel resort business here in St. Augustine. He would purchase some restored land from Henry Flagler, and on top of that land, build the Casa Monica in the Moorish revival style at a cost of around $1.2 million. But as Franklin Smith was getting ready to open the Casa Monica for the first season, he realized he had a serious problem on his hands. Whatever happened to the furniture and other essential items it needed for his guests, planned for delivery from Mr. Flagler's Florida East Coast Railway? None of it arrived here as planned, and he couldn't imagine how that could happen, since he loaded the furniture himself on Flagler's train in the Carolinas, but it never arrived. Well, instead of losing a lot more money on an empty hotel with no furniture and no guests, Franklin Smith decided to sell. And waiting there to buy it, checkbook in hand, was Henry Flagler, $325,000, lock, stock, and barrel. He would now own all three grand hotels here in St. Augustine. And you'll never guess what showed up at the train station here about 2 weeks after he purchased the hotel. The furniture finally made it to St. Augustine. It was reloaded on his train in Jacksonville. You don't see the lines and layers around the Casa Monica any longer like you do in the other grand hotels, because in the 1960s the property was purchased, restored, and opened as the Casa Monica Hotel with its original name. It is the only one of the three grand hotels in the Gilded Era that still has guests. Today it's a four-diamond hotel operated by the Marriott Corporation. Well, moving into the center of the colonial town, the Plaza de la Constitucion, laid out in a manner prescribed by royal decree from the King of Spain. Every colonial town in the Spanish Empire has an opening in the center for citizens to gather. The governor's house, coming into view on the left-hand side, is at one end of the plaza. The Spanish market I'll show you on the other, and the Catholic Church opening in between. Such is the way it's laid out here since the 16th century. Now, there's so much to show you here in the plaza, my friends. We'll go around twice. But remember, we only have one trolley stop for the plaza. We'll be there shortly in front of the cathedral for stop number 13. So, if you want to visit anything on either side of the plaza, go up St. George Street, the governor's house, visit the cathedral. The next stop, number 13, will be yours. Here's our beautiful Christmas tree that's going to be illuminated in just a few hours, along with 3 million other Christmas lights as we continue to celebrate our 30th annual Nights of Lights. What a fun time it is, running around town on the trolley singing along with the Christmas music. Next up on the left, there's the Colonial Well, and then you'll see the Spanish Market. This is where the Spanish introduced weights and measures for the first time to this part of the New World. And there's a monument here next to the trolley in the shade, the St. Augustine foot soldiers, memorializing those who marched here into the plaza from Lincolnville with Dr. King, Andrew Young, and many other leaders of the African American marches into the plaza during the Civil Rights Movement here. We can work our way around to the north side of the plaza, around this little traffic circle, and in the center of the circle, up on the pedestal, here he is, my friends, in all his glory. A life-size replica of Don Juan Ponce de Leon, pointed to the north with his index finger. Now, poor old Ponce de Leon needs every inch of that pedestal. History tells us he's only 4'11" in height, most likely why you see him in a large hat and a feather in all his statues and portraits. But why do you think he's pointing to the north with his index finger? Isn't Puerto Rico, where he served as first governor, in the other direction, south of Florida? Well, here's my explanation. You don't have to agree, but I came to the conclusion that it has nothing to do with his governorship. He's trying to tell us where we can all get that important drink up the road here about a mile at the Fountain of Youth. Here's another good look at the Spanish Market with the bell tower intact. And on the corner here on the right, back in the 1880s, there was a large wooden hotel that once stood here on the corner. It caught fire in 1887. The fire spread right down the city block, destroying everything in its path. The embers caught the top of the cathedral up ahead. We almost lost it completely. Thanks to a major donation by Henry Flagler, they were able to restore the church to its original condition, had enough money to build this beautiful clock tower you'll see adjacent to the cathedral today. My friends, the St. Augustine Cathedral Basilica, at our next trolley stop, is the oldest parish in the United States. Catholics have been celebrating Mass inside these columns nearly every day since George Washington was our president. Now remember, if you want to visit anything on either side of the plaza, St. George Street runs up here to the right next to the cathedral. By the way, the cathedral is open to the public. There's an entrance off of St. George Street through the courtyard you'll see after we pull in. Please wait until I pull into the curb here, folks, for stop number 13, and then it will be safe for you to get off the trolley. We ask that you wait for that bell, then exit on the right-hand side, away from traffic passing us on the left. Please take your time. Remember to turn around and back down, just like getting off a stepladder. Now, the next bell you hear will be the trolley in front of me. It won't be your bell. Okay, so don't get off yet. That's not your bell. Don't want to confuse you, but that trolley has to move so we can get in. We have all our trolleys out here today because of the heavy, heavy passengers and guests we have. All right, my friends, we're moving forward now, and in just a few moments I will ring the bell, announcing our arrival into the plaza stop number 13. Remember, it's the right-hand side where you want to get off the trolley if this is your stop. You'll see St. George Street opening up here on the right. So here you go, right-hand side of the trolley. If you are leaving, take your time. Thank God. And suddenly a hush goes over the crowd. Have a great afternoon, folks. Thank you so much for riding with us today. Don't see you later. Have a very Merry Christmas. All right, anyone else for the plaza stop? All right then, guys, please remain seated. Let's see if these folks are going to come aboard. No, yes, no. I see your stickers, folks. Are you boarding the trolley? Yes, welcome aboard. All right, good to have you back with us. My name is Bud. I'll be your tour guide. We're at stop number 13 of 21 stops. Now that you're aboard, please remain seated. All right, last call for stop 13. Let's ring the bell. And off we go. In the courtyard to our right, you'll see a monument there of Father Camps. There he is with the Menorcans he saved from a certain tragic end down at New Smyrna. Look across the street to the governor's house. You see a balcony, a wooden balcony up on the second level, facing the plaza. I call the royal balcony because that's where the King and Queen of Spain came out to address the locals during their royal visit in 2015. Look closely at the governor's house. You're looking at coquina once again, that composite of sand, a fossilized shell, and lime. The Spanish quarried out on Anastasia Island to build their permanent structures here back in the colonial period, like the fort we'll visit in a few more trolley stops. You know, I'm convinced if the Spanish didn't start to use coquina when they did, we'd no longer have a colonial St. Augustine to share with you. Because anytime the Spanish used wood or palm logs, it was usually destroyed by enemy attack, fire, or storm damage. We'll come around the corner here back to the south side of the plaza amidst these grand hotels from the Gilded Era. And as I mentioned earlier, Henry Flagler purchased these grand hotels from Franklin Smith, the Casa Monica in front of us, and when he did so, he changed its name to the Hotel Cordova. But then, in the 1960s, when the property was purchased and reconverted to a hotel, the original name Casa Monica was restored, which is only fitting after all, Saint Monica, the mother of St. Augustine. Back to the south side of the plaza, you'll see a large opening here on the right into the Casa Monica. We used for valet parking today, but it was Mr. Flagler who had it widened after he purchased the hotel, so the horses and carriages could pull into the lobby area just like his other hotels. Everything okay back there? Everything okay? You're in for a little treat if you have a chance to do some shopping here. Perhaps Florida's first shopping mall up here on the right. Yes, right next to the Casa Monica. My favorite is the Ancient Olive Gourmet, because in there, olive oils and vinaigrettes from all over the world. If you like to cook, you'll have to check it out. Coming into view on the left-hand side, on the sidewalk next to the governor's house, something you don't see every day, a cement horse trough with the date 1887 clearly visible. Back to the south side of the plaza and over here on the right-hand side, the Trinity Episcopal Parish Church, oldest Protestant parish in Florida, on its original foundation since 1831. Beautiful stained glass windows there, some by the protege of Tiffany. And those Carillon bells coming from that church. Oh, wait till you see the plaza this evening with all those Christmas lights. It's going to be a spectacle. Beautiful evening ahead for you folks. Next up on the right-hand side, historic storefronts. But don't miss the opening coming into view on the right. Between the two coquina columns running south from the plaza is Avila Street. Take a good long look as we pass by, because Avila Street, here it is on the right, not just the oldest street in St. Augustine, my friends. Avila Street is the oldest street in our nation, dating back to 1572. Part of the original town grid established by the Spanish when they moved out of the mission grounds. We'll visit later in the tour. No visit to St. Augustine is complete without a little stroll down Avila Street. You'll find sidewalk, cafes, restaurants, Spanish Military Hospital Museum, gift shops, and much more. But on this gorgeous Saturday afternoon, who's ready for a little trip down the bayfront? Woohoo! All right, well, I'm going to take you there anyway. That's right, I don't want you to miss a thing, including, at our next trolley stop, the oldest documented house in St. Augustine, the Gonzales Alvarez house, which dates back to 1702. And right away, you're likely thinking, wait a minute, bud, 1702, that's not old for St. Augustine. We know you go back much earlier to 1565, and you are correct. But what happened here in 1700 would change everything for the colony when Colonel Moore, the governor of the Carolinas, one of his many attacks on Spanish Florida, this time he would burn everything made out of wood to the ground. Colonel Moore then learned that the Spanish were about to be reinforced from troops from Cuba, so they retreated. The British left, and the Spanish would rebuild the colony, but not with wood, but you'll see here on the right, coquina instead. A very good plan indeed. Here on the left is our municipal marina. We have a number of watercraft you can enjoy in these beautiful weather days. Victory 3, our double-decker cruise ship, Schooner Freedom. And there's our pirate ship, the Black Raven. Arr. They do a great job, put on quite a show, scaring your kids and grandkids half to death. Lots of fun. Now the Matanzas River is a tidal estuary, teeming with marine life. Don't be surprised if we see dolphin. We have them here all the time. Also manatee live in these waters. Matanzas River, part of the Atlantic Intercoastal Waterway, flows down to the Atlantic Ocean about 12 miles to our south. You'll find a small fort on a small island down there at the mouth of the river, Fort Matanzas. The Spanish built there in 1740. Across the river, Anastasia Island, home to our lighthouse. There's a good look at it. The St. Augustine Lighthouse doing a great job for us since 1874. At 165 feet, one of the tallest on the Atlantic seaboard. Second tallest lighthouse in the state of Florida. Florida's tallest lighthouse stands at the Ponce Inlet just south of Daytona. We'll take this turn up ahead on St. Francis Street, and you'll see a gorgeous yellow building coming into view in a few moments, St. Francis Barracks. Today this property is the home of the Florida National Guard headquarters. And down on Marine Street, to our south, just above those historic buildings, look for the shorter of 2 American flags down there flying above them, marking our national cemetery, one of the oldest, smallest, and most important cemeteries in the national cemetery system. And coming into view on the right-hand side is the oldest house. Originally a one-story, the Gonzales Alvarez House, 1702. The British, Sergeant Fenwick and his wife Maria, purchased the property, added the second floor, balcony, and other extensions they explain as part of a guided tour you can get here at the Oldest House Museum. And if you want to get off here, folks, the entrance into the museum is through the green door up in front of us, and you can walk back behind us down Marine Street to the National Cemetery if you'd like to pay a visit there. I'll pull up here near the curve and ring the bell, right-hand side of the trolley. If you're leaving us here, folks, take your time getting off. Right-hand side, please, away from traffic passing. On the left-hand side. This is stop number 14. We've now reached the southernmost part of our trolley tour, which means I've got to find a place to make a U-turn, get us back to the bayfront, and continue our journey to the north. Howdy, folks. Care to join the trolley? Come on aboard. My name is Bud. I'll be a tour guide from here back to the depot on stop number 1. Careful not to bump your head on the canopy. Oh, speaking of covers. That's a nice tour they give you inside, isn't it? Lots of information about early colonial life. I never understood how they filtered the groundwater. It's through 2 layers of coquina stone. Do they still have that in there? It's very interesting. Alrighty. So, please remain seated, folks. I'm going to see if I can squeeze the 72-foot trolley into little old Charlotte Street up here on the right. This is where we begin our U-turn. So wish me a little luck. This should be a lot of fun. Charlotte Street, here we come. We gotta line this up just right. So far, so good. I think we're gonna make it. Yes. This is the toe of our house on the corner. I'm trying to miss. So far, so good. And behind it, St. Francis Gardens. All these properties behind us, the wall, are included as part of your adventure here at the Oldest House Museum. We'll complete this elaborate U-turn in the parking lot, get you back to the bayfront, and continue our journey to the north. As they come off the end of the driveway, directly in front of us, you'll see the Chechi House. That's another good example of 1880s Queen Anne Victorian architecture. Its next-door neighbor, across the street on the right-hand side down the way, is the Abayas House, the yellow one with the balcony. That 2-story is the second oldest house in St. Augustine. Now, if you missed those 5 flags when we came into the trolley stop here, you'll see them again on the left-hand side as we pass by the oldest house. Each of these flags represents a different government that ruled here in Florida's past, so they're very important to us. We'll have an opportunity for a quick history review here as we pass by. Now, I don't want to block traffic here on St. Francis Street, so I have to get this spiel down to about 20 seconds. We'll begin on the far right-hand side and move right to left, chronologically. The first flag on the far right is the Spanish battle flag, 1565 to 1763. That was the Spanish battle flag for the first Spanish colonial period. Then the British were here for 21 years. Second flag from the right is the flag of England back in the day for the second colonial period, 1763 to 1784. When they lost the American Revolution that year, the Spanish would return. There's the flag of Spain right in the center, 1784 to 1821, for the third colonial period. The United States purchased Florida from Spain that year, so you have the Florida flag of the Confederacy and the good old Stars and Stripes. 5 different governments, 5 different flags. Down on the right-hand side of Marine Street, once we clear the headquarters building, across the street from the National Cemetery, look for the freestanding yellow building down there, the only structure in town remaining, built entirely by the British when they were here. At one time, that was the King's Bakery. These cannon taken from the fort on display here to the right are known as 28-pounders, deadly accurate out to 3 miles. At one time, the Spanish had 60 cannon up on the battlements of the fort. And here's a great view, a postcard view of the Bridge of Lions from the south. The drawbridge completed in 1927, connecting us to Anastasia Island, considered by many to be the most beautiful bridge in all of Dixie. In this part of town, we can boast 2 seawalls. The older seawall, the one closer to the trolley, parts of it date back to the 1850s. You're looking at coquina topped with Pennsylvania granite. The second seawall was added about 9 years ago to save us from tidal flooding when those tropical systems come off our coast, which explains why these houses that were built before the new seawall are elevated to protect them from tidal flooding. Got some beautiful Victorian houses here on the left, converted to bed and breakfast inns. And out over the river, if you're wondering what we're building there, it should be open in a few months. If you guessed it's going to be a restaurant, you're absolutely right. To replace the one we lost here a couple of years ago, we had to demolish the Santa Maria, which was popular for decades, but we had to take it down. The good news, the one replacing it, as you can see, is on concrete pilings. Now the Bridge of Lions, the drawbridge was open as we came down the bayfront, so we have a slight backup of traffic here, trying to get back up north, but it'll clear in a couple of traffic signals and we'll be fine. Out over the river, right about where you see the pirate ship today, back in the 1890s, you know what you'd find out there up on stilts? I've seen pictures of it. A bathhouse. Yep. And for the price of a buffalo nickel, you could get yourself a hot bath. If you're very clever on bath day, you'd want to get there as early as you could, so you get a hot bath with cleanish water. Ugh. Don't know how they did it.